The handwriting on the bank statement became the only thing I could see. Everything else, the dining room wallpaper, the afternoon light through the windows, my own hands holding the paper, blurred into nothing. My mother's cursive looped across the margin of the transfer record, casual and permanent. She'll never make money with art anyway. Better to invest in the real futures. The folder sat half open on my parents' dining table, where I'd found it 3 minutes ago. I had come over with anniversary invitation samples, nothing more. The balance at the top of the statement read $20.47, my college fund. 4 years of tuition, housing, books, gone. Not spent on my education, just emptied in chunks over years. Transfer to Ryan's loan consolidation, $18,000. Transfer for Emily's bar exam expenses, $12,500. The dates lined up like a confession, each one a moment when my parents chose my siblings' comfort over my survival. My throat closed. I tasted copper. The paper trembled in my grip, and I realized my hands had gone completely numb. My name is Mia Thornton. I'm 28 and I'm an artist. This is the story of how I made myself visible. For years, I had felt the weight of being less than without understanding why. At family dinners, conversations flowed around me like I was a rock in a stream. My brother Ryan, a surgeon, commanded attention with his hospital stories. My sister Emily, a lawyer, glowed under praise about her clerkship. When someone asked about me, the room temperature dropped. "This is Mia," my mother would say with a tight smile. "She draws." The word draws always came out like an apology, like I was a hobby, not a person. I had tried to dismiss it as insecurity, told myself I was oversensitive, but the numbers in front of me now weren't feelings, they were facts. My parents had liquidated my future to fund my siblings' comfort, and they had done it with the certainty that I wouldn't matter enough to check. I carefully photographed every page. The folder contained 3 years of statements. I took pictures of the transfers, the dates, the balances. I zoomed in on my mother's note until her handwriting filled my phone screen. Then I placed everything back exactly as I'd found it, closed the folder, and walked out of their house with my invitation samples still in my bag. That night, I didn't call them. I didn't demand explanations. I just started paying attention. 2 days later, I began documenting what I'd always known but never proven. I stood in hallways with my phone recording in my pocket. I washed dishes while conversations drifted through half-open doors. I pretended to search for things in the kitchen while my family spoke freely, assuming I was too insignificant to matter. My mother's voice came through clearest. "Art isn't a real career. Sometimes I wish we'd stopped at 2 kids." Sharp and casual, like she was discussing the weather. My father was quieter, but worse. "At least the other 2 turned out right. Mia is expensive decoration." Ryan laughed during one dinner. "She'll be back living at home within a year, probably in my old room." Emily called me the practice child. Then she added, "We're basically carrying her dead weight." Each clip lasted 10 to 15 seconds, long enough to be undeniable. I saved them in a folder labeled Audio Backup and kept smiling at family gatherings like nothing had changed. 3 weeks after I found the statements, my mother called with a request. "Mia, you're good with visual things. Make the anniversary party look nice. You know, decorations, maybe a slideshow, something tasteful." I said yes immediately. My voice was calm and helpful, the way they expected. A week later, I visited their house and brought the conversation around to the party over coffee at their kitchen table. "Let me handle the tribute video," I said. "Wedding photos, family memories, the whole journey. I'll make it special." My mother barely looked up from her phone. "Fine, just don't make it weird." "I won't," I promised, and I didn't. At least not the first half. I spent 2 weeks on that video. I scanned their wedding photos, young and radiant, full of promises. Baby pictures of Ryan, then Emily, then finally me. Always smaller, always pushed to the edge of the frame. I added soft piano music and clean captions. 40 years of love. Family first. Our greatest blessings. Then I created a second folder on my desktop. I named it Truth. Inside, I dropped the audio recordings. I added screenshots of the bank transfers, zoomed in on my mother's handwritten note until the words filled the screen. I layered my own artwork over everything, paintings I'd created over the years that my parents had refused to hang, Portraits where their smiles became masks, still lifes where perfect surfaces cracked to reveal rot underneath. With their voices playing beneath my art, the paintings transformed from decoration into evidence. Jess, the barista at the Venue Cafe, was my only witness. My parents had chosen the cafe for their party months ago, and I'd gotten to know Jess while planning the event details there. She watched the rough cut on my laptop during her break, and when it finished, she whispered, "Don't flinch." We timed everything for right after the speeches, when emotions would be running high and guests would be settled with full glasses. A surprise tribute, they'd call it, a gift from the artistic daughter. I exported the file with a harmless name, Thornton Anniversary Final.mp4, and created 3 backups, one on the cafe's presentation laptop, one on a thumb drive in my clutch, and one scheduled to upload to a private link exactly 30 minutes into the party, just in case someone tried to stop the screening early. By the time the invitations went out, my gift was already loaded into the projector. All they had to do was press play. The night of the party arrived with unseasonable warmth. String lights glowed above the cafe's outdoor terrace. My parents' friends filled the space with expensive perfume and practiced laughter. My father's law partners toasted 40 years of partnership and family values. My mother floated through the crowd in cream silk, accepting compliments like they were her oxygen. I wore black, simple, forgettable. I helped arrange the dessert table and checked the microphone levels. I smiled at guests who didn't remember my name. The speeches began after dinner. Ryan stood first, tall and confident in his tailored suit. He praised sacrifice and dedication, painting our parents as selfless heroes who invested in their children's futures. The irony made my jaw ache. Emily followed, smooth as polished glass. She thanked our parents for believing in the right dreams and knowing where to place their faith. Her voice wavered on cue. Several people dabbed at their eyes. When she finished, someone called for me to say something. The request came from one of my father's colleagues, a man who had once asked me if I was the intern. My mother's laugh cut through the applause. "Oh, Mia," she said into the microphone, her smile bright and practiced. "She's better with her little drawings than with speeches." The crowd chuckled, warm and indulgent, the way people laugh at harmless quirks. Then my mother leaned closer, still holding the microphone. Her voice dropped to what she thought was a private whisper, but the mic was inches from her hand. It caught every word. "Sometimes we truly wish you were never born." The terrace went silent. A wine glass clinked against a plate. The band continued playing, cheerful and oblivious. Every face turned toward me. I felt the weight of their stares, but I was already standing, already smoothing the front of my dress. My legs were steady. My voice was clear. "Then I'll disappear," I said. My mother's face drained of color. She reached for my wrist, but I stepped back, just out of reach. "Mia, sit down," she hissed. "You're making a scene." "A scene is what happens when nobody knows the truth," I replied. I turned to address the guests. "You all came to celebrate their love story. Do yourselves a favor. Stay for the sequel." I walked toward the exit. Behind me, chairs scraped. My father cursed under his breath. Someone called my name like it was an order. I passed the sound booth where Jess stood near the control panel. Our eyes met. I gave her one small nod, and she nodded back. The night air outside was cold and sharp. I slipped into the alley beside the cafe, pressed my back against the brick wall, and pulled out my phone. A scheduled post sat ready on my social media, private but prepared to go public. An email draft waited with links and screenshots, addresses already loaded. I had 12 minutes before the slideshow would begin. I had planned this moment down to the second. My phone buzzed. Jess. "They're pretending nothing happened. Ready?" I typed back. "Press play when they call for the slideshow. Don't stop it no matter what." 3 minutes later. "It's starting. Your dad just introduced a special tribute from Mia." I smiled in the dark. They thought they were about to watch love. They were about to watch proof. The slideshow began exactly as they expected. Soft piano, wedding photos of my parents, young and luminous, baby pictures that progressed through the years. My mother relaxed in her seat. Guests lifted their glasses. Ryan squeezed my father's shoulder. Emily dabbed at her eyes. Then the screen cut to black. The music stopped. My mother's voice filled the speakers, clear and undeniable. Art isn't a real career. A few people laughed nervously, confused. My mother's smile twitched. The black screen faded into an image of a bank statement. Bold letters at the top. Mia Thornton College Fund. Balance. $20.47. Gasps rippled through the crowd like wind through grass. The next slide showed the highlighted transfers, one after another. Transfer to Ryan M. Thornton. Loan consolidation, $18,000. Transfer to Emily K. Thornton. Bar exam expenses, $12,500. Dates and amounts lined up like a spine, each one a vertebra of betrayal. My father's voice layered over the numbers. At least the other two turned out right. Someone set down a glass too hard. The crack echoed. My mother shot to her feet, hands shaking. "This is fake," she snapped. "Someone hacked." But the next clip was already playing. If we hadn't had her, we could have retired early. The words played over one of my paintings, a portrait of my mother where her smile was made of glass and her shadow twisted behind her like smoke. Ryan lunged toward the projector. My father followed, red-faced and furious. They yanked at cords, but the backup system kept running. Too late, anyway. Half the room was already filming on their phones. A neighbor's voice cut through the chaos. "Is that handwriting yours, Diane?" My mother tried to laugh. The sound died in her throat. Ryan's hospital colleagues stepped away from him. Emily's mentor whispered something to her husband, and they both stood to leave. From my position in the alley, I tracked the slideshow's progress through Jess's text updates and the muffled sounds filtering through the cafe walls. My phone lit up with notifications. Unknown numbers. Some messages were hateful. "You ungrateful person." Some were soft with shame. "I'm so sorry. We had no idea." At exactly 30 minutes, my scheduled post went public. The video link opened like a door. Shares climbed. Comments poured in faster than I could read them. Then my email sent automatically. One click, dozens of recipients. My father's law partners, Ryan's hospital board contacts, Emily's clerkship supervisors, my mother's charity committee. No emotional appeals, just links and screenshots. Facts they couldn't argue with. Ryan called first, his voice tight with rage. "You destroyed everything." "Did you know about my college fund?" I asked. Silence. "Did you use that money?" He hung up. Emily called next, her voice breaking. "You didn't have to do it like this." "You didn't have to call me dead weight either," I replied. "But here we are." My father called last, his tone shifting between anger and negotiation. "If you take it down right now, we can fix this. We'll tell people you've been struggling, that you misunderstood." "No," I said. "You wanted me invisible. I made the record permanent." I hung up and turned off my phone. I didn't go back inside that night. I didn't check if they apologized or tried to spin the story. I let the truth exist exactly where they had performed their lies, in front of everyone who mattered to them. In the alley, I listened to the muffled shouting from inside the cafe. For 28 years, I had been the family secret. Tonight, they were. 3 months later, the noise still hadn't fully faded, but my life had started to sound like mine. The video kept traveling without my permission. News sites picked it up. Clips played in waiting rooms and office break rooms. My mother stopped attending her charity events. Ryan's hospital completed its ethics review and quietly transferred him to a different department with reduced responsibilities. Emily's clerkship ended early. Her mentor cited incompatible professional values in his final evaluation. None of it healed my childhood. It just proved I hadn't imagined it. What changed was my mornings. I woke up without that familiar dread in my throat. I made coffee and answered only respectful messages. I blocked numbers that arrived with insults. I stopped explaining myself to people who fed on silence. Then the art world found me. A gallery owner named Lena reached out through my website. She asked to see my work, and when I showed her, she offered me a solo exhibition. The title was my choice, Conditional Love. Opening night was bright and crowded. My paintings hung on clean white walls under professional lighting. Bank statements and family recordings became color and texture. One piece held the room in a particular hush, a large canvas titled with my mother's exact words, "She'll never make money with art anyway." It sold before the opening ended. After the reception, my father called. Your mother wants to talk, he said. She's struggling. You could help her if you just... I don't know yet, I said. Then I added, don't come to my door. I took a breath and made my position clear. I'm not interested in reconciliation unless there's genuine accountability, not apologies performed for appearances, real understanding of what they took from me. Until then, we're done. He tried to argue, but I ended the call. Later that week, I saw my mother outside the gallery window. She stood alone on the sidewalk, no makeup, her purse clutched tight. My phone lit up with her call. I watched it ring until it stopped. She called 3 more times over the following weeks. I never answered. Eventually, the calls stopped coming. That silence was my answer. I had chosen myself, finally and completely. I didn't disappear, I just stopped performing for them. Peace isn't forgiveness, it's distance with the truth intact. If any part of this felt familiar, please like and share this story. Subscribe to Echoes of Life for more stories of quiet strength. And stay close for the next one. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.